Life's looking pretty sweet for our protagonist right now. Academy prodigies dropping at his feet, beautiful women calling him strong. But here's the thing, it wasn't always like this. Before Mord showed up in this world, he wasn't driving anything. He had wheels though, just not the kind you want, wheelchair life. And yeah, everyone judged him for it, called him Hot Wheels behind his back. Thought it was hilarious. He wasn't some athletic prodigy or hidden genius, just your average looking guy whose body decided to betray him. No grinding, no leveling up, no training arcs. His entire existence was scrolling through social media and reading novels while stuck in a hospital bed. Wait, hold up. Was he accidentally doing the same thing in a different way this whole time? One night, he's about to finish a novel he's been obsessed with, the story he's been following for God knows how long. And when he reads that ending, the ugly crying starts immediately. It was too sad, way too sad. He didn't want it to end like that. Then out of nowhere, a screen pops up in front of his face. A magician who dominates the world. Before he can even read what it says, everything goes black. When he wakes up, he's standing, actually standing, on legs that work. He looks down at himself and nearly has a heart attack. Gone is the frail body he'd been trapped in. In its place, 6'5", jacked, dark triad jawline, maxed out presence. His value is through the roof. Even the actual main character of this world would struggle against someone built like this. And yet, technically, he's just an extra in the story. A side character, nobody important. His first thought, holy cow, I can move my legs. His second thought, now I'm screwed since my excuse to stay in the hospital scrolling is gone. Classic. The flood of memories hits him all at once. This body belongs to Mor Varus, part of the Archduke Varar's bloodline, a bastard son. His mother died just days after giving birth to him, and because of that, he's been called the cursed one his entire life. The kid who killed his own mother, the weakling, the disappointment. Every day was insults and pressure and guilt eating him from the inside out. It wasn't that Mor couldn't fight back, he just didn't, because some part of him believed they were right. But things were about to change. In this world, those of the Varar's bloodline awaken their powers at 15. They call it the awakening of divine blood, and going through it is like setting your entire body on fire from the inside. For someone who wasn't fully part of the main family, the survival rate drops below 5%. Mor went through it anyway. And he didn't just survive, he came out the other side with power that would make even the protagonist sweat. Our guy puts the pieces together. Mor received a letter from his mother saying that if he survived his 15th birthday, he should go to the main Varar's house. So that's exactly what he did. He agreed to take a test to be recognized by his father, a man he'd never even met. All of this is Taum's memory now. The soul from our world, living inside Mor's body. And according to those memories, he arrived at the Varar's estate just yesterday. The test is today. Here's the thing though, Mor might be a supporting character, but Archduke Varar's, the father he's trying to impress, that man is the antagonist. The villain of this whole story? Taum knows exactly who these people are and what they're capable of. The Varar's family already has plenty of legitimate heirs. A bastard showing up to claim recognition? They're going to despise him. The original Mor just wanted to be accepted. Grew up alone, desperate for someone to acknowledge him as family, but his father only ever saw him as a tool. Still, surviving the blood awakening made Mor insanely powerful. Since the original character never showed this strength in the novel, Taum sees this test as the perfect chance to discover what this body can really do. His thoughts get interrupted when a bearded man walks into the room. Hey, did you forget what day it is? Hey. According to Mor's memories, this is Todd, an instructor who'll be overseeing his test personally. The man is absolutely ripped. Short hair, beard, battle scars all over. He looks at Mord with an impatient expression, asking why the kid's just standing there. Taum sizes him up. Yeah, this guy looks like an instructor should. He walks up to Todd and asks if he's the one in charge. Something about the interaction makes Todd pause. The kid seems different, like his whole personality shifted overnight. The look in his eyes isn't the same broken boy who arrived yesterday. Todd shakes it off, probably just his imagination. Todd asks if Mord remembers the explanation about the test. He doesn't. Todd also reminds him of something important. Don't go around claiming to be Archduke's son. The unwritten rules for bastards. Morty confirms he understands, even though rumors are already spreading everywhere. Soon enough, everyone will know exactly who the bastard is that's about to become a warrior. They arrive at a training area where several muscular students are already waiting. Todd explains that Varar's warriors fight differently than common soldiers. They don't rely on weapons unless they're not properly trained. Once they've mastered their abilities, they fight using only their bodies and the power of their bloodline. Hand-to-hand combat elevated to an art form. The Varar's family is the best warrior organization on the continent, and they achieve that without depending on any blacksmith's forge. Todd calls forward a student named Vince. This fight will determine which level Mord gets placed at. The instructor tells him to give his all and prove he has Varar's blood. The two boys face each other. Vince sizes up his opponent. He asks if Mord is really 15. His face looks young, but his body is massive. Who's this kid's father? He mocks him, calling him a brat. Taum doesn't take the bait. He's too focused. Only with power can he achieve freedom in this world. and power is everything here. The novel's protagonist eventually gathers fragments of this world and becomes a supreme being, then destroys everything. Taum's job is to stop that. Living a calm, simple life isn't an option when he knows what's coming. Morde drops into a fighting stance, time to prove himself. He charges at Vince with a punch. The blonde boy dodges with a surprise hook, barely avoiding what would have been a devastating hit. Vince starts sweating. He didn't know Morde could fight. Turns out all that boxing Tom learned in his past life just to pass the time in the hospital was better than nothing. He spins and lands a kick that sends Vince flying backward. Vince is irritated now. He accuses Morde of lying about not knowing how to fight. Tom says there's no reason to lie. Vince insists he was lying, his stance was too good. Then Morde says something that shocks everyone. He just needed to copy what others do. That comment pushes Vince over the edge. He charges with greenish mana coating his fist. One of the other students tries to stop him. Using mana in a test like this could kill someone, but Todd orders them to continue. Let them fight. Morde is impressed his opponent is using mana. But despite facing a mana-infused attack, he doesn't hesitate. Takes his stance. Vince throws the punch, and Morde sidesteps it like he saw it coming a mile away. Vince panics. How did a novice dodge that? How can this bastard predict mana combat techniques? Before Vince can finish his sentence, Morde raises his hand. Mana particles swirl around his fist. Then he vanishes. Vince barely has time to raise his guard before a devastating punch connects with his stomach. The impact sends him flying across the training ground, unconscious before he hits the dirt. Everyone is stunned. The other bastards, the instructor, nobody can believe what they just saw. Todd thought this kid was just a novice, but he just sent a trained warrior flying with one hit. Morde walks over to where Vince is lying. Even though he's nearly unconscious, Vince tries to move, clenching his fists, refusing to give up. Morde notes the determination. Warriors really are different. He turns to Todd and says he didn't know how to control his strength. He was afraid of killing his opponent if he continued. Todd is lost in thought. An instructor's job is to measure potential, to push candidates to their limits. A test taker shouldn't be able to defeat an instructor. But this kid? Todd doesn't know what would happen if the two of them fought. To avoid further confusion, he calls the match. Todd confronts Morde. Why did he lie about never learning to fight? Morde insists he never learned. He hasn't lied once. Todd doesn't buy it. It's impossible for someone who's never trained to suddenly use mana combat techniques in a real fight. Morde tries to cover by saying he didn't know that was mana. He could only use it after becoming enraged. Todd asks if he really thinks he can fool an instructor with decades of experience. So Tom tells him about the Blood Awakening, about how Morde could use mana even before awakening, a sign of incredible talent. The god of combat Verners and a goddess of the heavens, their blood runs through this body. The synergy created something miraculous. In other words, Morty has a blessed genetic heritage. No real training until 15, yet he'll become stronger than Archduke Varars himself and the greatest successor to the god of combat. That's how this story goes. Todd starts to believe it. If that's true, this kid is a monster of talent. He explains that Vince wasn't just some random trainee, he was a warrior who'd gone through extremely difficult tests, and a novice just dropped him with one punch. Morde earned 200 points on a test with a maximum score of 100. What does he want to do now? Morde says he wants to start at the first level. He needs to learn mana combat techniques from the basics. Todd is confused. With that score, the kid could skip ahead. But Morty is serious. He's just a bastard, and he figures starting from the bottom is the safest choice. Todd agrees. He can't give special treatment just because the boy beat a warrior. Classes are over for the day. He'll send someone to explain the first level tomorrow. That night, lying in his room, Tom thinks the test was way too easy. The novel never went into detail about how Morde became the Archduke's trump card. He was just a supporting character. But it makes sense now. The Archduke tried to maximize Morde's potential and dominate his mind to use him as a human weapon. The original Morde never fought back against the abuse. Just like in his past life as Taum, except Taum always fought when he felt wronged. The two of them are complete opposites. Maybe that's why this happened. He gets up and walks across the room. To save this world from destruction, he has to stop the protagonist of the novel. The one who gathers the world fragments, pieces contained in the essence of this world, becomes something like a supreme god. The great wizard Aiden gathers these fragments and dominates everything. But eventually the power corrupts him. He doesn't just kill his enemies. He kills his allies too. The novel depicts the struggle to stop the world's destroyer. Watching the sunrise the next day, Taum makes his decision. He'll stop Aiden no matter what. This might be his last chance. From now on, he lives as Morde. The Varars family governs the Archduke territory and is renowned across the entire world. Their castle is as luxurious as any royal palace, but what sets it apart is the warrior training center located outside the castle walls. The thing is absolutely massive. Morde's riding in a carriage toward his destination when someone explains that from today forward, he'll be staying in the first level dormitory. Looking around, Taum thinks this training center is bigger than most university campuses back in his world. But honestly, that's the least surprising thing about this place. A loud crash echoes nearby, the sound of warriors dueling. Our boy immediately goes on alert. The person beside him explains that's probably the third level training center. Mord asks if that noise really came from trainees. After getting confirmation, he realizes that even though these are just second-level students, they've clearly surpassed normal human limits. The Verar's warriors are famous for merging various powers into one devastating fighting style. They arrive at the first region. A large, muscular man with black hair introduces himself as Hayes, the first-level instructor. He tells Mord to call him Instructor Hayes. The boy does as he's told, and immediately Hayes assumes Mord must have bombed his entrance test to end up here. Mord corrects him. He beat Vince in the first test. Hayes freezes. Beat a warrior? After getting confirmation, the man can't process it. Why would someone who defeated a warrior be starting at level 1? Mord explains he never learned combat techniques, so he came here to learn the basics. Hayes is still trying to wrap his head around it. A novice defeated a warrior without any basic training, but he tells the boy to follow him. They enter the training area. Hayes warns him not to distract the people already practicing. Mord notes that even though this is level 1, the instructor must be strong if he's training future Verar's warriors. When they arrive, he sees the trainees. They're children. Hayes introduces the new student, Mord, a novice. Our protagonist is sweating bullets, not believing this level is meant for kids. He immediately regrets not going straight to level 3. If he could change his mind now, he absolutely would. Hayes asks if he's really never learned mana combat techniques. Morty confirms he hasn't, but for some reason he can use mana anyway. The instructor explains that just going through the Blood Awakening means he's already blessed. Since he has no formal training, what Hayes is about to teach should be very easy. He starts explaining steps Mord probably already knows. The final step is learning to control the basics of mana and sense amplification. Morty asks if he doesn't need to learn combat basics. Hayes asks if the boy wants to stay here a long time, because he can make that happen. Morty gets nervous and tells him to forget it. Hayes says he'll teach him a few things, and after that Mord will have to learn everything else on his own at level 2. Taum reminds himself not to get cocky just because this is level 1. He needs to master his power from the ground up. 10 minutes later, the children are in shock. The novice has only been training for 10 minutes. One kid whispers that he thinks the novice's mana is stronger than the instructor's. A blue aura surrounds Mord as he stands there, radiating crushing energy. He asks if that's everything or if there's more to learn. Hayes, slightly intimidated, responds that Mord has already surpassed level 1. Well, that was fast. Level 2 focuses on physical reinforcement split into 2 parts. The first strengthens your body so you won't get injured even if you get hit by a carriage. The second amplifies your abilities, letting you transcend the limits of normal muscle training. Mord demonstrates by striking a wall. When the dust clears, there's just a hole where his fist connected. Physical reinforcement is supposed to be incredibly difficult to learn. He turns to his new instructor and says all that's left is the practical test. But the instructor is staring at him like he's seen a ghost. The man tells him there's no need with what he just did. Mord can start level 3 tomorrow. The instructor's expression turns serious. He explains that levels 1 and 2 are easy compared to what's coming. At level 3, Mord will face other powerful students who've also gone through the Blood Awakening, and he'll be doing it without having learned any real combat skills, just his instincts. Taum realizes he hasn't actually learned anything yet. Hayes only passed him to level 2 thinking he was hiding his power. The instructor puts a hand on his shoulder and tells him that brute force is enough up to this point, but becoming a warrior at level 3 won't be easy. Taum already knew level 3 would be difficult. In fact, he's excited to meet people who've awakened the divine blood. The next morning, at the 3rd level quarters, people are already gossiping. The rumors about Morty have spread past through 2 levels in just 2 days. Has Verar's blood. A red-haired young man named Fen listens with a serious expression. He's also part of the bloodline. He remarks that people like this newcomer only want to attract the Archduke's attention. With a look that's practically begging for trouble, he declares that he'll show this nobody that there are rankings within the Verar's bloodline. Someone informs Fen that the novice has arrived. Mord walks in, thinking he should have started here from the beginning. Fen approaches immediately, asking if he's the novice. Mord asks who he is. Fen introduces himself as the captain of the 2nd class. Our protagonist notes that this guy is also part of the Verar's bloodline. He introduces himself and mentions he doesn't know how long he'll be staying here. Wrong thing to say. Fen takes it as an insult. His aura leaks out as he demands to know if Mord thinks this is a joke. Mord tells him not to take it that way. He wouldn't have come here if he thought it was a joke. That only makes Fen angrier. Morty says he's not in the mood for a fight and asks Fen to calm down. Fen retorts that it's expected of someone with their bloodline. Mord is enduring his aura without flinching. Mord fires back that he won't be intimidated by the aura of a weakling. That does it. A reddish aura ignites around Fen's hand. He asks if Mord thinks the world will bow to him just because he went through the awakening. His eyes go completely red, blinded by rage, focused only on destroying this novice. The other students start laughing at Mord, saying nobody can stop Fen when he's like this. If an instructor doesn't step in, the new kid might not survive. Fen declares he won't hold back since Mord is also of the bloodline. He rushes forward, trying to grab Mord's head and end this immediately. Blinded by fury, he screams that he'll make Mord pay for defaming this place and teach him how the real world works. Then a massive crash. A cloud of dust explodes into the air, blocking everyone's vision. One of Fen's friends comments that the power was monstrous. The novice was unlucky to run into the leader on his first day. He hopes Mord survives. The smoke clears. One person is standing. One is kneeling on the ground, trembling after taking a devastating blow. The one standing is Mord. He doesn't understand. He thought Fen would be stronger. He expected his opponent to withstand at least one attack. But looking at Fen on the ground, blood dripping from his nose and mouth, Mord remarks that the guy was nothing more than a bully who barked loud but had no real bite. Fen wipes the blood from his face. He stands up, still shaking, and curses Morty. Claims he just got lucky. Mord responds that it wasn't luck. His opponent was just too weak. Fen loses it completely. All his aura and mana pour out as he charges again to end this fight and prove his strength. But rage makes you sloppy. Mord sidesteps the attack with ease, spins his entire body, positions himself behind Fen, and launches a mana-coated kick that sends the captain flying. The poor guy crashes into the ground multiple times before finally slamming into a wall. A curtain of dust rises from the impact. Fen lies there unconscious. Mord thinks he overdid it. He didn't expect the leader of level 3 to be this weak. Looking at his own hands, he realizes his strikes were so powerful because of the basic techniques he learned at levels 1 and 2. Fen's friend rushes over, waking him up, trying to help him stand. But Fen won't give up. Humiliated and furious, he pushes his friend away and declares the fight isn't over. Morty looks at him with disdain and pity. He points out that Fen fainted. He was unconscious for about 10 seconds. Fen insists it's a lie. Mord only hit him because his guard was down. Mord mocks him. Leaving your guard down against someone who's trying to become a warrior is pathetic. That breaks something in Fen. A red aura begins enveloping his body, far more intense than before. The students panic. They realize Fen has awakened his powers and scream at Morty to run or he'll die. Morty doesn't move. He recognizes this. Fen must have invoked the divine blood awakening, but he's controlling it completely wrong, which makes sense. Fen is also a bastard child without pure blood. An elder walks toward them through the chaos. The third-level instructor, he asks what all the commotion is about. A student explains that a fight broke out between Fen and the novice. Dasley observes the situation in silence. When a student asks if they should stop the two, the old man says no, just wait. Dasley is thinking. Fen is strong enough to compare to a regular warrior, but there haven't been many chances to test the boy's true power. Now, there's an opportunity. Looking at Morty, he assumes this must be the Verar's child who reached level 3 today. It wouldn't be too problematic if a child died. Yeah, this instructor is going to be a problem. Lightning begins coursing through Fen's body. With a malevolent smile, he declares that Mord will pay with his life. Mord realizes what technique his opponent is using and can't believe Fen knows something this advanced. Fen clasps his hands together and leaps at Mord, striking from below with powerful bolts of lightning emanating from his body. Mord barely dodges as the attack slams into the ground, causing the entire area to rumble and crack. He thinks it would be very bad to get hit by that directly. Fen's power is called Body Impulse, an advanced technique that uses the body as a vessel to create devastating magical force. Fen doesn't let up. He tells Mord not to run and charges again with lightning in his hands, aiming to end this fight for good. But before Fen can even react, Mord strikes him in the face. Blood flows from Fen's nose again. He's shocked at being hit so suddenly, but he stays determined. A flurry of attacks follows. Morty dodges and counters every single one. Even with Fen's new power giving him more durability, Mord evades all his strikes without even using his own divine blood. The students notice the novice isn't taking any hits, but they also comment that Mord's attacks don't seem to be affecting Fen much. Dasley points out that something is off. Fen is suffering. He's gradually wearing himself out. His impulse is weakening. Mord decides it's time to get serious. He changes strategy and goes on the offensive. A quick punch to Fen's stomach catches him completely off guard. Fen groans in pain, more blood spilling from his mouth, and gets thrown far away again. Mord stays in his stance, apologizing because he tried to hold back but used too much force. Fen tells him to shut up, claims all Mord did was run like a coward, trying to trap him. Tom is done listening. He declares that he'll stop dodging. He's been going easy, but since Fen is getting on his nerves, he'll end this now. Fen thinks he's successfully manipulated Morty into a trap. He charges again, telling the novice not to regret it after he loses. Morty just stares at the punch coming his way, doesn't move, doesn't dodge. Just like he said. The impact scatters mana particles everywhere in a brilliant flash. When the light fades, everyone sees Mord holding Fen's arm. He explains that impulse doesn't work when your enemy is stronger, so Fen's attacks mean nothing. A blue aura ignites around Morty's hand. He tells Fen this is a great lesson. Desperation floods Fen's face. An impulse user is supposed to always beat someone without that power. It's common sense. But this guy just changed everything. The last thing Fen sees is a punch coming straight for his stomach. He thinks he never had a chance of winning. He's thrown back one final time, groaning in agony. He rolls across the ground, already defeated, and crashes into the wall. His hand raises like he wants to say something, but before he can speak, he collapses unconscious. Dasley is stunned. Where did a monster like this come from? A bastard child just defeated Fen without even using impulse. He mutters that he's trained many Verar's warriors, but he's never seen a bastard this talented. Mord managed to close the gap between himself and someone of direct lineage. Mord turns and asks if anyone else wants to fight. Dasley begins walking away, ordering his students to take Fen to the medical center. He thinks that if he doesn't do something, the chain of command will crumble. No matter how talented Mord is, he's still just a bastard child. The old man concludes that he needs to find a way to control that boy at all costs. Mord explains that Fen was seriously injured and fell into a coma. He hasn't woken up. As a result, Mord got placed in solitary confinement for 4 days. He spent the time reading combat tactics from books. Closing one of them, he remarks that the theoretical test should be easy. He did postgraduate studies in his past life. Reading isn't going to be a problem. He stretches, bored from being stuck in the dormitory all day. He starts practicing his mana techniques when a familiar figure arrives. Todd, the instructor, says he heard Mord already caused trouble at level 3. Mord asks what brings him here. Todd explains that the Archduke wants to see him. Confused, Mord asks why such an important figure would want to meet with him. Todd says he'll find out when he gets there. Also, no need to change clothes. The Archduke doesn't expect him to know noble etiquette. They set off. Todd mentions that rumors have spread everywhere about how Mord completed levels 1 and 2. He thought the boy was very smart. Morty doesn't understand. Todd clarifies, it was all a plan to attract the Archduke's attention. Morty denies it. He wouldn't risk his morals just for attention. If he wanted to be noticed, he'd just become a powerful warrior. Todd thinks the boy is wrong, but explains that the Archduke received a report about what happened and became interested. Taum figures defeating a Verars would definitely attract attention. Not surprising. They approach the Archduke's training area. Todd warns him not to do anything stupid. After stepping down from the carriage, they observe a battle in progress. Mord's father is surrounded by a pink shield while multiple warriors try to break through. The man has long hair, a beard, and looks like a muscular giant. The aura radiating from him is overwhelming. The warriors strike the shield simultaneously. Cracks form, but nobody breaks through. The Archduke notices his guest has arrived. He says that's enough and begins forming something in his hand. A spiraling sphere absorbs the surrounding mana, turning deep red. What starts as a marble grows into something the size of a soccer ball, then expands into a massive magic orb that pulls everything toward it. Mord recognizes the ability. The god of combat's reflector. It absorbs both physical and magical attacks, then converts them into a shockwave that throws enemies away. The sphere concentrates into the Archduke's palm, and he launches it as a burst of energy. The blast creates a massive crater in the wall as all his opponents get flung backward. Even in its incomplete state, the ability is already terrifyingly powerful. Archduke Verars apologizes for making them wait. Todd and Mord quickly kneel. The man tells them to stand since he called the boy here. There's no need for formality. Walking over, he towers over his son like a giant. He mentions hearing about the interesting things Mord did at the training facilities. He grabs Mord's chin, asks who the boy's mother was. Mord answers, Rhea. The Archduke says he remembers her. Notes that Mord takes after his mother more than his father, then asks if he's already gone through the blood awakening. He heard Mord defeated an impulse user using only body reinforcement. He wants to see how strong his son really is. He calls for someone named Kesner. A young man appears behind him. The Archduke orders Kesner to fight Mord. Kesner asks if it's really necessary. The Archduke explains this is his son, who recently arrived. He wants to test the boy's strength. Don't go too hard. Mord realizes Kesner was one of the warriors training with the Archduke earlier. Kesner tells him to follow to the arena. He can use any weapon. Morty says he doesn't need one. He never learned to wield weapons, so he'll only use his fists. Kesner chuckles, underestimating him. He charges immediately, throwing a strike. Mord dodges it. Fast opponent expected from someone close to the Archduke. Kesner notes the boy dodged while using mana and gets excited. A barrage of blows comes at Mord, who tries to defend but quickly realizes this opponent is on a completely different level from Vince and Fen. After the sequence, Mord gets thrown back and barely stays on his feet. Kesner's aura blazes as he says he likes how the boy fights even when cornered. He wasn't giving his all. Morty starts sweating from the heat. His opponent is using mana and must be of the Verars bloodline. Taum realizes he's never actually fought with everything he has. As Kesner walks toward him, Morty summons his own mana. Now, since this is someone from the Archduke's entourage, it's worth going all out. A brilliant blue energy erupts from his body. The two auras clash. The Archduke is impressed. Kesner can't believe this is an apprentice's mana. Taum thinks that Mor probably never maximized his potential. Growing up hearing people call him the cursed one who killed his mother, he likely never had the chance to unleash his true power because of the guilt weighing him down. But now things are different. Taum is going to fight for the Mord who never got to show what he could really do. He provokes Kesner. Come at me. Kesner laughs and charges with explosive speed, saying he's going to teach the kid a lesson. Mord blocks with his arms. Kesner admires him now. He understands why the Archduke is interested. The rumors weren't false, but it's all useless. With one fist still pressing against Mord's guard, Kesner unleashes an unknown technique. Mord gets thrown back. Confused, he's sure he blocked that. Must be a technique that doubles the impact. Kesner doesn't give him a chance to breathe. He charges again to end the fight. Before Morty can process the power gap between them, a devastating punch slams into his stomach. He crashes into the wall, spits up from the impact. Kesner gives a small smile, saying he hasn't even started. The boy better not disappoint him. Morty struggles to stand. Even without impulse, the gap is massive. He considers using the divine blood, but dismisses it. If he does, his opponent would probably do the same. Kesner gets impatient, saying the boy is overthinking. Morty wipes the blood from his mouth in silence. Annoyed by the lack of response, Kesner declares he'll force the boy to fight seriously. He charges again. Mord finally decides to hit back. He raises his hand to strike, but Kesner dodges easily, forcing Morty's punch to hit the ground instead. Kesner is pleased. This is what he wanted. He goes on the offensive again. Taum thinks he didn't want to show everything yet, but getting beaten up is boring. A genuine exchange begins, punches almost too fast to see. After trying to land a direct hit, Kesner dodges and comments that the boy makes too many unnecessary movements. Coming in low, he notes Mord is talented, but his combat skills are still novice level. He gathers mana in his hand and launches the attack, but only grazes Mord's forearm. Kesner comments that he thought the boy wasn't going to defend anymore. Mortis says he knew Kesner would do that, then counterattacks with mana, landing a solid hit on his opponent's vulnerable arm. Kesner is shocked. The boy didn't just block on purpose, he copied the movement. The double attack technique, replicated way too fast. Kesner clenches his fists as a golden aura with lightning bolts begins emanating from his hand. He says he's becoming more impressed. Because of that, Mord will have to give everything now. Morde sees his opponent is finally using impulse. But before things escalate, the Archduke interrupts. He orders them to separate. What they've done is enough to test Mord's strength. The Archduke walks toward his son. He says it's incredible to see the boy at this level right after his blood awakening, but there's something else he wants to see. Energy begins forming in his hand, an impulse sphere. Morde realizes what's happening and wonders why his father is suddenly using it. The sphere launches at him. He throws his hands forward, trying to absorb the attack to survive. In his mind, he curses Verars. Can his body withstand this? He won't use his secret ability, he'll endure with just his body. Memories of the fight against Fen return. He only blocked that impulse because he was stronger than his opponent. That won't work here. But if he uses impulse too, he can stop it. A white aura ignites around his hands. He blocks the attack. His father smiles. Todd is stunned. He says it's impossible, the boy just went through the blood awakening. How can he already use that ability? Morde looks at his own hands. Moore's talents are even better than he imagined. He can see someone use an ability and immediately replicate it. The Archduke is extremely pleased. This is expected of his blood. He promises to reward his son for passing the test. He can have wealth beyond imagination, a mentor to train him, anything. Mord is confused. He didn't expect this. But he already knows what he needs. The world fragments. He has to collect them before Aiden does. That's the only way to prevent the world's destruction. He tells his father he doesn't want trivial things. The Archduke asks what his wish is. Mord says he wants to challenge the tomb of the god of combat. Taum explains that dungeons exist in this world, dangerous places filled with monsters. They form where this world overlaps with others. Most overlap with the demon realm, but the tomb of the god of combat is different. It's said to be where the god of combat Vernars was created. It overlaps with another world entirely, and it contains one of the world fragments. The Archduke becomes extremely serious, silent for several seconds. He puts his hand on his chin, pondering. Mord wonders if he asked too soon. The Archduke asks what his reason is. Morty says he heard there are traces of the god of combat there. He wants to see the source of the lineage he acquired. Kesner speaks up. He calls the boy immature. The tomb is where the coming-of-age ceremony is held for the direct bloodline. What Mord is asking for is basically a challenge to them. A bastard child shouldn't be allowed. Unexpectedly, the Archduke agrees to let him go. Kesner is confused. The Archduke explains there have been instances where someone outside the bloodline went to the dungeon for expeditions. It's happened every generation. He asks if Kesner also wants to go. The man stays silent. The Archduke thinks that Kesner has lived a miserable life for being a bastard child. Both he and Mord probably want to taste the privileges reserved for direct heirs. But he tells Mord it's too early. He'll give him a chance when he becomes an official warrior. Mord clenches his fists. Becoming an official warrior isn't too difficult, but he needs to be faster than Aiden. He confirms to his father that he understands. As Morty leaves with Todd, Kesner watches in silence. The Archduke asks what he thought of the boy. Kesner says it seemed like Mord was hiding a lot. He's certain the boy didn't give his all. The Archduke agrees. Mord gave everything to block the impulse sphere and learned the ability the moment he received it. Kesner acknowledges that some people learn quickly, but what shocked him most was the boy's mana level. Even without knowing how to control it, the amount was astonishing. The Archduke starts to say Mord's mana resembles someone's but stops himself. Kesner asks, who? The Archduke dismisses it as nothing. Privately, Verars thinks that the boy's gaze lacked desire. It was almost lifeless. His bastard children's eyes are always full of the need to be recognized by their father. But Morty's were different. Smiling, he remarks that the boy reminds him of his mother Rena, an extremely interesting child. Back at the third-level training center, warriors are dueling everywhere. Mort arrives and takes the opportunity to watch his teammates fight. He thinks he nearly died of boredom over the past 4 days in solitary, but now he'll finally learn something useful. He overhears a conversation nearby. Someone mentions that the Verars family is going to select 5 bastard children to challenge the tomb of the god of combat. Another trainee explains it's an expedition to discover patterns in the tomb. Apparently the layout changes every time. Mord processes this. So Kesner has also decided to try for the tomb. That means he needs to hurry. Becoming an official warrior just became urgent. Dasley arrives on the scene, asking if everyone is present. A student responds that everyone's here except Fen. The old man commands all students to prepare for training. Then he walks over to Mord and asks if he's the novice. Mord confirms it. The elder remarks that Mord can't participate in today's training since it's his first day. He should ask his peers for help learning what's already been taught. Mord gets irritated. He questions why his instructor doesn't want to teach him. He doesn't want to learn from other students. Dasley's face twists with rage. He points out that the boy is giving orders right after beating Captain Fen on his first day. Mord retorts that he's already been punished for what he did, 4 days in solitary, but that doesn't calm anything. It makes the instructor even more furious. Dasley orders him to stop talking back. Is this how he was taught to behave? Mord keeps his expression firm. He says the instructor shouldn't misunderstand he's only speaking the truth, and it's the instructor's duty to listen. The old man can't tolerate being answered back. Consumed by fury, he strikes Mord across the face. Mord steps back from the blow. Before he can recover, Dasley grabs him by the collar, calling him a brat. He's giving orders now. The boy will run laps around the entire training center until the session ends, high speed, while paying attention to the lessons. The instructor starts laughing at Mord's expression, adding that if the boy fails to answer any questions about what was taught, he'll be punished again. Mord tries to restrain himself. His fists clench. A bit of mana leaks out from the anger building inside him. Dasley sees this. His authority is being challenged again. Unacceptable. The old man strikes Mord a second time, accusing him of mocking his own instructor. Mord is furious, but he contains it, barely. The old man starts lecturing him. The instructor's authority is absolute here. If the boy continues to resist, he'll be removed as a student. Does he understand? Wiping the blood from his mouth, Mord curses the old man in his mind. Wonders if he should just hang him right here, but he changes his mind. If he causes another fight, it could interfere with his test to become an official warrior, and he needs that status to access the tomb of the god of combat. He has to hold back. So he responds quietly, "Yes, sir." Dasley's authority is restored. He questions what the boy's doing standing there. He should be running. Morty swallows every ounce of rage he's feeling and begins running as ordered. Watching the students back, the instructor thinks to himself that he'll make sure this boy is punished for the disrespect. He won't let it go. Days pass. Dasley holds a grudge for what happened and continues punishing Mord for no reason. The boy is constantly being assaulted by the old man. Taum explains that Dasley has gone mad with the authority he wields. He's let it go completely to his head. If he feels his authority is being even minimally threatened, he punishes anyone verbally and physically without remorse. And he always frames it as training so no one can resist. That's how Dasley governs level 3. After a few days, Mord is doing one-finger exercises while Dasley complains nearby. The instructor questions if the boy is disobeying him again. Mord stays silent. He knows why this is happening. He used mana in front of the other apprentices during the Fen fight. Dasley saw everything and hasn't forgotten. Getting no response, Dasley leaves in anger. But before going, he states that Mord must remain in that position until the end of the day. If he moves a muscle, more punishment. While holding the exercise, Morty thinks about why he's been holding back. He believed the old man might have something valuable to teach. But it's become clear that Dasley is just passing on mediocre training. There's nothing worth learning here. Inside his quarters that night, Dasley sits thinking. He rests his chin on his arm, stewing in frustration. He curses Mord. How dare that brat talk back to him? The punishments he's given should have destroyed anyone's body. But Mord endured until the end, every single time. It's like the boy wants to rebel someday, constantly challenging his authority just by surviving. Dasley wonders how a bastard child with no training can be this strong. He punches the wall. Standing up, he declares that the boy will fall soon. He'll make sure of it with his own hands. The next day, Mord stands in the training area staring at Dasley. He says it clearly so everyone can hear. "I will take the test to become an official warrior." The other cadets are shocked. The confused old man asks if he's sure about what he just said. Mord confirms it without hesitation. Dasley immediately reprimands him. The boy has never learned anything to become a warrior. How can he possibly take the test? But that doesn't intimidate Mord. He says it's because the instructor neglected his job. Then he steps closer and says that in reality, the old man isn't qualified to teach anyone. This infuriates Dasley. He tells the boy to stop talking nonsense. He's the only one who decides who can take the test. But while the old man continues complaining, Mord gives a malicious smile. He says the instructor can't say that. He officially challenges Instructor Dasley to a combat god spirit. The old man freezes. The spirit of the combat god refers to the sacred practice of duels. In a family that follows barbaric traditions, this duel has one simple meaning: the strong one is always right. They believe the combat god gives his blessings only to true warriors. Whoever wins the duel is automatically justified no matter what the fight was about. Dasley questions how the boy knows about this. Mord says it doesn't matter. According to Verar's law, an apprentice can request the combat god's spirit from an instructor. This tradition comes from a legend. The combat god grew up without knowing his true abilities. When he was young, he was harassed by powerful beings who thought they could control him. After he took the throne, he decreed to all his descendants, those who hold power over others must have the ability to back it up. That's why Verar's law allows apprentices to challenge instructors. It's a safeguard, a reminder that authority means nothing if you can't defend it. Morty thinks the old man was crazy to have this rule available, but now he's going to use it. Dasley grabs Mord's collar, desperate. He says the boy is just a child too young to be asking for this sacred right. He has no idea what he's invoking. Mord tells him to shut up. Don't fool yourself. You don't have the right to deny a combat god's spirit. He pulls free from the instructor's grip and slowly walks away while Dasley stares at his back. Then Morty prepares his mana and shouts so that everyone in the palace can hear. Apprentice Morde requires the combat god's spirit to duel against third-level instructor Dasley. He repeats the message. The declaration echoes through the training grounds, through the halls, through the entire estate. Every servant, guard, instructor, and noble within earshot freezes. The challenge has been made publicly, officially. There's no taking it back. Dasley is furious, but before he can say anything, Morty turns around. He tells the old man not to even think about denying his request. If he does, Morty will make sure everyone knows he ran away from a disciple, an apprentice, a child. Dasley is irritated by the brat's presumptuous actions, but Mord stays firm. He asks if the instructor still hasn't understood what's happening. This is his last chance to prove himself as a true instructor. He warns the old man that he no longer wants to waste time with useless people like him. The pressure Mord is emanating hits Dasley like a wave. The old man starts thinking he should have worn brown pants today. He realizes the boy didn't show all this power when he faced Fen. Mord was holding back even then. Dasley tries to reassure himself even if the kid is talented, he's still just a child. Dasley says Morty will regret acting like this. He begins to announce when the duel will be held. But before he finishes the sentence, Morty interrupts. The challenger chooses the time and place. The duel will be held here, in 1 hour. He doesn't want to waste any more time with useless people like the instructor. Mord turns and starts walking away. Over his shoulder, he adds one final line. I won't stop you if you want to flee. Dasley stands frozen. His mind is blank. His body won't move. Everything he's built, the authority, the fear, the control over this level, it's all crumbling because one kid decided he'd had enough. The trainees are staring. Word is already spreading. In 1 hour, everyone will be watching. And Dasley will have to face the monster he's been trying to break. Completely terrified, the instructor wonders where this psychopath came from. If you enjoyed the story so far, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Yume Recap, and stay tuned for the next video.